Jedi Squadron is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu, and now Star Wars content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Hello, new Padawans, and welcome to the Jedi Squadron podcast. Here, you will be taking lessons in the many pieces of the Star Wars universe, whether it be the movies, animated series, video games, comics, and etc. This is your training into becoming a Star Wars fan as part of the Jedi Squadron. May your training go well, and may the Force be with you, young Padawans. What's going on, Star Wars Nation? This is the Jedi Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Nathan and
And I'm Rizwan Merchant.
And today, we are actually going to be doing a quick, kind of a special podcast to kind of talk with all of our original trilogy fans. So, a little bit of a spoiler here. We are actually going to be taking a look at the Star Wars original trilogy very soon in the next couple of weeks. But we have actually kind of decided to talk a little bit about the different versions of the original trilogy and what format, because as most people know, George Lucas, at least back when he owned Star Wars, loved to take his old movies and make changes after changes after changes after changes after changes to them, to the point where there's multiple different versions of the movies. So let's talk a little bit about them. Riz is going to be here just to give some commentary while I give some of them. So to kind of now technically, there's been multiple different releases of the original Star Wars trilogy. Like you could say, like there was one released in like 1982 or something like that. Blah blah blah. But when we talk about like the major releases where there were significant changes, there's 4 different versions of them. So we have the original theatrical cuts, which came out in their respective years. A New Hope came out in 1977, Empire in 1980, and Return of the Jedi in 1983. All of those came out. And then now, unfortunately, those versions are very difficult to find. We have them on VHS in several different forms. From what I know, and unfortunately, I never picked these up because I didn't realize how significant they were. But apparently, there was an addition to watch the unaltered versions, because there were DVD releases of the original trilogy that came out in 2006 for a very limited time. Unfortunately, I've had a very difficult time finding these myself, which really sucks because I saw them in stores all the time when I was 12, and now I can't find them, and I really wish I got them at the time. But there is there was a way to watch the original unaltered versions as like a bonus feature on each of those discs. So there was a laser disc version. So there technically is a way to watch them on DVD, but it's very difficult.
Well, the problem is Laserdisc is a completely different technology. So most consumers that I know of growing up and living through the 90s and 2000s, we all had the VCRs that played VHS tapes. And then we also had DVD players. Now we got Blu-ray players, and we're moving towards streaming. But Laserdisc is an older format, and that one is basically, imagine a CD that you can't hold in one hand. You got to use both hands to really hold it. That's the size of a Laserdisc.
Yeah.
And you can find a Laserdisc player today, but it's not cheap. And if you do find it cheap, it may not work. I know this because I'm looking around the internet right now to try and find one so that I can go buy the Star Wars Laserdisc version just out of curiosity.
And that's kind of a controversy that was generated from these 2006 releases where yeah, it's cool that we can watch the original cuts of the film like on DVD technically, although again, it's difficult to find those releases. So, I mean, technically, but apparently the quality was never remastered into like the into it. So, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, for all of you people who want to watch the I don't know, like, and we'll go into all the major changes when we when we actually review the movies. But like, for all of you who want to go watch the scene in the cantina where you can see the Wolfman in the background and see the scene where Greedo shoots first. Unfortunately, no. When Han
Han
shoots,
shoots first, Nathan.
right? Dang it.
Greedo
Unfortunately,
does not shoot first
I
anymore.
know. Unfortunately, maybe you can find someone who was able to like enhance the quality on YouTube, but that's the best thing you're gonna get, unfortunately. And I hate it. And here's the thing: I don't hate George Lucas doing these special editions as much as he did. I just hate how once, like, to give you guys a to give you guys a clarity on like how bad this what is. When I was growing up, there was a VHS set. It was one that I actually actually found, and I gave Riz this VHS set too. There's a little trailer at the beginning of each of these things, like talking about how like these have been digitally mastered because they were updated to look the best that they could at the time, and it ends with the quote saying, "The original Star Wars trilogy on video one last time." Unfortunately, it was one last time because there have never been any other releases remastered of the original cuts. So that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, those are the original cuts, and it sucks. I wish I could find these 2006 releases, and I wish that I bought those things when I was a kid, although the DVDs would probably be messed up by this point in time, probably since I would have worn them out playing them as a kid, but it is what it is. Um, next up, we have, so then we have the re releases, the very first special editions. These came out in 1997. These were done basically the prequels were about to start to come out because the Phantom Menace was going to come out 2 years later, and George Lucas was trying to get everybody like hyped up for Star Wars again before the Phantom Menace came out. So the original trilogy was released in theaters one more time in the 1997 editions. They were released in theaters, and they are now available on VHS. There's only that's the only format that you can watch those versions, although I would recommend not watching those because I really hate to say this, but of the special editions, the 1997 versions are the worst. Like, there are some changes that are so bad that they actually took them out in the next version.
That's hilarious.
Like, to get like it's the one where Greedo explicitly shoots first. Like, they don't even do that. To kind of get, and I'll bring this up again in the Empire review, most infamous change, the scene in Empire where Luke decides to where Luke lets go and like lets himself fall down when Vader says, "Come with me, it's the only way." So when Luke is falling down and we're seeing Luke falling, George Lucas decided, you know what would make this scene really great? I'm going to add an effect where it sounds like Luke is screaming as he's falling. Okay, this already ruins the scene because it makes Luke look like a coward who regrets screaming. But here's what makes it worse, guys. You know where he gets the screaming sound effect from? It's Emperor Palpatine's scream when he's being thrown into the energy compactor. It sounds nothing like Luke. That was so bad that they removed it. So technically you can watch the 1997 versions of them, but honestly, I wouldn't recommend that you do. It's just awful. Um, so then, 7 years later, and these are the ones I actually had this DVD set. I probably grew up with it mostly. 2000, we have the 2004 DVD releases. Um, these were never released in theaters, just major re-release. The 2004, you can still find these. I mean, they're probably difficult to find now, but they were all over the place in stores at the time. And I mean, DVD is still around as like a major format, so you could still probably find these and watch them.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
the 2004, I mean, they don't change as much as the 1997 edition, and they try to clean up a lot of issues with like I don't know, like there was a lot of negative reaction to the 1997 version, so 2004 was kind of trying to clean up some of the stuff and try to make the CGI look a little bit better. And I mean, it works okay, but it's not amazing. Uh I mean, I might prefer. I mean, I like watching. Honestly, I don't mind watching Empire and Return of the Jedi in the 2004 version because, but I mean, A New Hope is just kind of weird because I mean they do try to change the Greedo Han shootout thing, but they don't do it in the best way. And again, we'll go into details when we talk about that
Yeah.
movie. And then finally, we have this, and this is one that I mean, you'll be able to find this, and like literally, you go into any store, you'll be able to find this version because they're still on the shelves. We have the 2011 Blu-ray releases, which are the current versions. These ones are, I mean, you can still find them on Blu-ray. In fact, my brother owns a set. Um, they're not. I mean, the Blu-ray versions are just mostly updated. They still have some different changes here and there, but that's about it. So you can find them on Blu-ray. You can watch them there. Now, technically, we also have a 2019 Disney Plus version, which they tell a lot of people have told me that the 2019 Disney Plus version has a lot of changes, but there's only one that I know of. Which, what a shock, is the scene with Han and Greedo shooting out. And again, I'll talk about that when we talk about A New Hope.
Hmm.
But that's largely the versions. So, and that pretty much completes our history of the different releases and the different versions.
Now, one thing to note that I was looking into earlier that I want to call attention to. Yes, the 2006 DVD does have a theatrical cut of the movies, but the quality has not been updated to work on a DVD. So they didn't remaster these whenever they brought it over to DVD. So they're not the best of quality.
Yeah, yeah, that generated a lot of criticism.
Yeah, it's something I've been looking into because I'm trying to get good copies of the trilogy movies, but it's very difficult because a lot of um, VCRs that are out there today, um, they still work. Like I have one at my house right now, but some of the tapes get damaged over time, and
Mhm.
so there's a lot of skipping and stuff. So you can't enjoy the movie without the random blue screen in the middle. So
Yeah,
definitely, if you're into it, that's something to make a Holy Grail quest, which I am currently on, and I hope to one day find a good enough copy that I can watch with no skipping. But until then, we can just wait and hope.
but again, I mean, they said that like the reason why people have had such difficulty releasing the original cuts is because 20th Century Fox apparently owned like those versions of the films. But here's the thing: Disney owns both Star Wars and Fox now, so I think that roadblock is kind of cleared.
It is, but I think now they're just committed to the George Lucas edits that he's been making.
Well, yeah, but I
And I mean, okay, so not to get into a whole lot of detail, but I understand why some of the edits were made later. Like, one of the most infamous scenes, in my opinion, is the Force Ghost scene at the end of Return of the Jedi. Originally, that was going to be um, played by Anakin from the movie, like Sebastian Shaw.
Yeah.
But later, they updated that to be Hayden Christensen. So that's one scene that I understand why they updated it to give it some continuity, but that also generated so many questions of why Anakin's Force Ghost was young, but Obi-Wan was not young.
Yeah.
So, there are fan theories on why. We'll get into those fan theories later in another podcast, but yeah, it's just kind of weird how we try to make the adaptations later to keep continuity, but the continuity can't truly be ever made correct in its entirety because we don't have, you know, magic.
Yeah.
You need magic to have done all that back then.
And I mean, some of these special editions, like, I don't hate every change. Like, some of them make sense. Like, there's this one change in A New Hope that I actually think improves the film, where when they're trying to escape from the Death Star, there's a point where Han Solo is like chasing down a squad of stormtroopers, and he's like, ah, and then but then he reaches like the end of the hall, and then he like turns around and runs away. The original scene is weird. It's like he chases 5 stormtroopers down a hall until they reach the end of the hall. Then he screams and shoots down one and then runs away. And it's like, what were the stormtroopers thinking? Were they like running away? Like, the way that scene just doesn't make any sense. It's like Han is chasing after them, and then the stormtroopers are like, wait a minute. We outnumber this guy 5-1. Why are we running away from him? And then they chase him. In the
Yeah.
special edition, they edit the shot so that Han chases them into a hangar that's filled with stormtroopers. So the stormtroopers are more like, we got an army now. What you gonna do, bitch? And like, and then he runs away. Like, that actually makes that scene a lot better. Like,
Yeah.
honestly. So I don't hate these special editions as much as other fans do. I don't like, and I honestly, I feel like if people could see the original theatrical cuts, like if they were much more accessible to people, people wouldn't be hating on these special editions nearly as much as they do.
Oh yeah, but it's impossible to find, and this lends itself to a big criticism that's been going around the internet in general for everything, and that physical media as a form is dying
Yeah.
because Disney Plus, Netflix, and all these other companies have made it much easier to keep track of all your stuff without cluttering your house with the stuff. But if you don't clutter your house, you lose some of the stuff that made your childhood magical.
Yeah. But yeah, this was just a brief podcast to talk about some of the stuff that with the different versions of the original trilogy, just to get you guys prepared, because 2023 is coming to an end, and we're going to be doing a lot of Star Wars stuff here, and we're going to start by talking about the original trilogy. So we just wanted to get that stuff, and but don't you guys worry, I'm going to be going over every major special edition change in detail when we do each of those movie reviews.
He
So
has notes,
yeah,
lots and lots of notes.
which thankfully I didn't lose when my flash drive got fried.
Yep.
Well, okay, I lost a bunch of documents, but thankfully I put this one in our Discord, so I didn't lose it.
Hallelujah.
Was there anything else we wanted to add?
No, I think that's it for now. Um, just want to say to everyone that's listening in, thanks for making our first year as a podcast amazing. We've really enjoyed having a new place to nerd out and talk about Star Wars and have people kind of join in the conversation online with us.
Yep. Yeah, we very much appreciate that, guys, and we're going to be bringing a lot of good content for you in 2024. Even if we don't get any new, even I'm not sure what's supposed to come out next year because I think with Star Wars, but even if most like stuff doesn't come out, like we're still going to be, we're going to be covering the original trilogy. We're going to do the Clone Wars animated series and the prequels. We're going to be doing a lot of book reviews. Like, we got a lot of stuff planned for you guys for the Jedi
Yeah.
Squadron, and we're going to have a lot of fun next year. We've already had a lot of fun this first year, and we appreciate you guys, tuning into us. And we got a lot of stuff prepared for you. Like we said, next time on our next time on the Squadron, we're going to be taking a look at the original trilogy. We're going to start with A New Hope to give our overall thoughts in that, leading it, and we're just going to be taking a look at all the big Star Wars content that everybody knows and loves. Because I know everybody knows what A New Hope and like the original trilogy is, but we still got to review that because it's like staples for Star
Yeah.
Wars content.
We can't be
So,
a Star Wars podcast without doing it.
yeah. I got some more book reviews planned. I'm hoping to finish the Princess and the Scoundrel very soon, and then also jump into some of the High Republic content. Really looking forward to that. And Riz and I will also take a look at some of the Thrawn books as well. And yeah, that's our agenda for 2024. We hope you guys will tune in for that. With that said, if you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment down below with anything that you might want to see us cover. Like the video, subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed. If you listen to us on Spotify or iTunes, we appreciate that. And also, give us, a review out of 5 stars on that. And reach out to us on animesecrets.org for any commentary you might want to give. And that about wraps this up. We'll see you guys next year in 2024, when we begin to jump into the original trilogy. But until that time, you guys stay safe. You guys all have a great holiday. We love you, and may the Force be with you.